everybody. Today I want to talk with you about one of my very favorite topics because this was something that really changed things for me in my business. It is an understanding of the masculine and feminine energies. So, as I've mentioned there in the very brief description, you might be familiar with this concept in terms of Eastern philosophy, which refers to the same concept as yin and yang. So I learned it as masculine and feminine. I learned it specifically as the divine, or you can also call it the healthy masculine and feminine. And I also learned it in terms of the wounded or the shadow. So, what I'm going to do in this short video for you is break down what the divine masculine and feminine look like, and also what the wounded or shadow masculine and feminine energies look like. And then I'm going to talk to you about 10 ways that using this approach can really help you in your practice, because as I said, it was so helpful for me and really created such significant shifts that now it underpins everything that I do. All of the courses, all of the emails, all of these videos, everything that I do is through the lens of the masculine and the feminine. So let's have a look together. First off, it's important to note that it doesn't matter how you identify. That doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. This is just energy, okay? So, first off, the divine masculine. That energy is really responsible for things like strategic planning and goal setting. It's also responsible for things like taking action, forward moving action, goal setting, taking steps toward those, being very protective. So, protecting assets, protecting the company, protecting in intellectual property, all those kinds of things. It's about using an analytical mind to do things like problem solve. And it's about looking at systems and processes and procedures. Okay. It's also about how do we drive growth and expansion for the business. So, the masculine, as I like to see it, is the healthy masculine. It sets the foundations so that the feminine can come in and do her thing. So the divine feminine is a different type of energy. This energy is less about moving forward, going forward, and things like that. This energy is more about nurturing things like relationships with clients, third party stakeholders, maybe even the culture of your private practice if you've got subcontractors and employees working with you. It's about using intuitive decision making to help you create decisions to business challenges as they arise. It's about fostering and celebrating and utilizing creativity and innovation. It's also about being really adaptable and creating and working with flow. So the masculine is very much, it likes things to be still, it likes things to be empty. So if you think that most of your core essence is in the healthy masculine, what you would notice is maybe if you like to be in your office with the door closed and you just like peace and quiet. Um, Whereas if you're more core essence in the healthy feminine energy, you love to have your door open, you welcome the interruption, you love the distraction, you love their talking to people. Someone who's core essence masculine is going to go straight into the tea room, make their tea or coffee, and get out. The feminine's going to stay around and chit chat and communicate with people, right? The masculine's going to say, right, these are the steps that we need to take. The feminine is going to say, I feel like, it seems to me like, okay. The masculine, not so great at building relationships. So you wouldn't send somebody with core essence masculine out to do your business development work. Somebody who would be better at marketing is somebody who's more core essence feminine. Um, so yeah, adaptability with and flow with change. So very easily, you can interrupt somebody who's core essence in their feminine, and they're fine with it. But if you interrupt or disrupt somebody who's core essence masculine, they're going to be upset, angry, cranky, grumpy. You'll know about it. Okay. The healthy feminine is about collaboration, so really good for things like collaborative team building and stuff like that, and really empathic with things like not only working with our clients and stuff like that, but also amazing at customer service, which is so important when you're working in allied health and complementary medicine and alternative health and things like that. Now let's move on to the shadow. So, as you know, everything has a flip side, right? So, the shadow masculine is you would notice it when somebody becomes quite overly aggressive or they're using cutthroat tactics. They might be micromanaging things and trying to have excessive control rather than control that would normally be expected over how you do your job or how a session is run or how they want things to really be in their business. Somebody who's in their shadow masculine is probably also not giving much attention to work life balance. In fact, they're probably spending most of their time in work. They probably see the balance part as a bit airy fairy, as a bit woo woo, as not serious, as who's got time for that? I need a client. And they see downtime as lazy, so they don't really value the benefits that downtime brings in terms of resetting, coming back to old problems with a fresh mind and a fresh perspective. They don't see that. They would just much rather push on and push through. They suppress emotion in the workplace. So rather than let people know how they're feeling or what's going coming up for them and things like that, they'll bottle it all up and then maybe explode or be short with someone or terse with someone or complaining all the time, complaining in the meetings that things aren't going the way that they expected them to, and maybe not even taking responsibility, like all of a sudden it's become somebody else's fault, and quite a domineering leadership style if they're the practice owner. When it comes to the shadow feminine, it looks a little bit different. We've got more sort of a martyr mindset, more of a victim mindset. I'm trying my best, but nothing's working for me. That kind of thing. I did do it and it's not working. It's like when you have a client and you're making suggestions to the client about how they might feel differently or what they could try, and they keep saying, I tried that, it didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. They keep coming back at you almost, it's not an argument, but they've got an answer for everything. They're avoiding confrontation, and then they go away from meetings feeling resentful, and they'll go and bicker and say horrible things behind the other person's back. They bring down the vibe of the room. Okay, or if it's an online community, they'll come into the community, they'll you know say all their negative things about how things aren't working for them and stuff like that, and it will just bring down the whole vibe of the room, right? Even though other people might be wanting to share their wins or their progress and stuff like that. It can also look like indecisiveness and a real lack of direction. It can look like, wanting to get affirmation from lots of other people around them that they're on the right track for things rather than leaning in to what they already know in their heart to be true. That they're disconnected from that. In their head, they know that in their heart, they know, but there's a disconnection. So they're not listening to it, and now they want everybody else to affirm for them, yes, you're on the right track, yes, you're doing this correctly, things like that. Sometimes they, because of a desire to keep the peace, because the wounded feminine doesn't like conflict, they can enable toxic behavior from other people around them because they don't put a boundary in place. So some of them might say, I feel like a doormat, or I feel disrespected, or things like that. And it's possible that they are being treated like a doormat or that they are being treated disrespectfully, but it's come about because of their hesitation and around putting boundaries in place. The other thing too is, healthy boundaries with employees and lacking healthy boundaries with clients. So that can look like going overtime in your sessions. It can look like not knowing what to say to a client who's tried to friend you on Facebook, all those kinds of things. Okay, so that just gives you like a very brief overview of what the divine or healthy masculine and feminine and wounded or shadow masculine and feminine can look like in life in general. But I want to show you now what it looks like and what it means, I think, for your business. Okay, so first off, I think when you can run your business using the masculine and feminine approach, it brings balance. The masculine energy is really about the planning, setting the goals, um, you know, knowing exactly what you're going to be focusing on for the year or the quarter, but with clients, maybe even knowing what you're going to be focusing on from session to session. Whereas the feminine is really about fostering empathy, creating that nurturing environment. She's just as important as the masculine. In fact, she's the energy that's going to make it a really comfy space. She's the one that's going to go and find the nice lighting, gets the dimmer switch put in, gets nice furnishings, all those kinds of things. The acquisition and retention of clients, when it comes to the masculine, that's all about what's the strategy that we're going to use, how we're going to implement that, how we're going to measure it, those kinds of things. The feminine is about, okay, I want to get clients through building genuine connections here. I'm about connections and relationships. And I also want to lean into just having an intuitive understanding of what my clients need and want. Okay. When it comes to managing the practice, masculine is about how can we have some really simple and efficient systems in place that we can automate, that's just going to let the feminine do her thing, right? Because the feminine is the talent in an allied health practice. That healing energy is the talent, not everything else, but everything else is required. The feminine is about how do I create a welcoming space, and it's also about adapting to feedback, like two-way reciprocity between perhaps clients or third parties, and constructive feedback and things like that. When it comes to professional development, the masculine energy is like, what's the next credential that I need? What do I need to do to get it? Do I need to go now and do a bachelor's? Who's going to approve it? Where do I need to, what institutions offer it? All those kinds of things. And about staying updated on latest trends and research for the field. The feminine, on the other hand, is more focused on developing her emotional intelligence than going and getting another piece of paper. She's someone who's going to say, I want to go and work with a coach who's going to help me connect with my um, other gifts and talents and things like that. And she's really about cultivating presence. When it comes to work life integration, healthy masculine can really be so helpful in terms of things like time management, making sure we've got really clear starting times, really clear break times, and really clear end times. That's one of the best things that that masculine energy can bring, right? And then the feminine is going to be, okay, I've got this time now from the masculine. I'm going to use it to look after me. What do I really need in my lunch break? Do I need to go out for a walk? Do I need to eat better food? Do I want to go on my social and connect with people? Those kinds of things. And the feminine is all about how do I maintain harmony for myself outside of work and still be present for friends and family and things like that in a way that fills my cup, right? When it comes to things like crisis management, which you will experience in your business, the masculine energy shows up with quick decision making and implementing protocols because it already sourced them ages ago and now they're in your operations manual. In fact, the masculine would have made you have your operations manual and would have made you have your systems and procedures. When it comes to crisis management, the feminine though shows up by providing quick emotional support, right? By adapting to unexpected changes. Remember, she loves distraction and she's always moving and things like that. It's the masculine that's still and doesn't like any distraction. When it comes to creating innovation in services, the masculine is about this is why we need to innovate. This is what we need to innovate. This is how we need to innovate it. And I'm going to go and start researching. That's the masculine approach. The feminine approach, though, is using methods she's already using, but trying them out in new ways, leaning more into her intuition and what feels good and what she just kind of senses or knows could be helpful for her clients. And this can look like personalizing or customizing approaches and other aspects of the business. When it comes to an online presence for the business through the masculine and feminine, the masculine is going to be really fantastic at things like optimizing the website, making sure that SEO is done, making sure that when you're creating posts for Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or wherever it is, that they're driven by the desire to hit a target number of followers, a target number of inquiries, all those kinds of things. So it's data driven content. Whereas the feminine is all about how can I communicate with my audience in a way that feels authentic and true for me, that's going to build those relationships and that's going to generate engagement. I want to build that. That's what connection is. It's about that engagement. And then lastly, I think the masculine and the feminine is also very applicable to the financial side of your private practice. Okay. So with the healthy masculine energy, it's going to be about setting goals for what do we want the finances to look like quarter to quarter or even month to month or week to week. What are the targets that we're aiming for here, and doing some analysis periodically to see what's working, what's not, what needs to be changed or fixed or improved, and things like that. On the flip side, the feminine is really about how do I bring more value? How do I bring more value? And how do I align the money with my personal values? How do I align the money with the personal values? So, having this framework can really help you as an allied health practitioner know where you might be overly reliant on one energy. So you've got the four energies: healthy masculine and feminine, and shadow or wounded masculine and feminine. Um, have a look at different areas of your practice, like have a look at your finances. What area of masculine or feminine do you tend to show up in the most? And this is the other thing, you will have a dominant energy, it'll be one of those four, but at the same time, nothing's set in stone. We've all got all of the energies. Okay, we all have all four energies, but one will be emerging more than the other three when you look at different parts of the private practice. So when it looks like doing the client work, it's really common for people to identify as I do show up in that healthy feminine space when I'm in session with a client. Um, so have a look and don't be afraid to identify too if you're in the shadow, because that's okay and it's normal. We all have both of the shadow all every single day in our businesses. It's just we don't know it if we don't know to look for it or to tune into it. Um, what do you do once you realize that you're in the shadow? That's a that's a really good question. And what you would do is you would start to work on what is it that needs to shift in order for you to feel safe to move back into the healthy. And that's something that you would discuss with your private practice coach or with a coach that specializes in masculine and feminine for private practice, like me. But yeah, if you have any questions or if you find this interesting and you'd like to learn more about it, please don't hesitate to let me know. You can also just simply drop a comment below. I'll always write back to you. If for some reason I don't, never be afraid to give me a little nudge. I can miss things from time to time, so just give me